Pretty amazing.
For most of us, however, our deepest desire is to go one step further, to be able to name an actual African ethnic group to which at least one of our ancestors belonged.
This goes back, I think, to slave times, when your name was either taken away from you or given to you, substituted. You had someone else's name. You didn't have what was your own. And so I think in searching for our ancestry and in searching for our heritage, you're looking for something that really belongs to me, that is rightfully mine. And that's your name.
And that's your name. And your name can be tribal.
Correct.
To attempt to put an African name on our past, we have to use the two strands of DNA that are passed down to us unchanged. The DNA in a man's Y chromosome and the mitochondrial DNA that both men and women inherit from their mother. Scientists run these signatures through databases of DNA samples collected from contemporary Africans. A match means that we have found a distant cousin. Unfortunately, however, this is still an emerging science, and DNA tests don't always produce clear results, as Dr. Fatima Jackson explains.
The truth is that sometimes you can't put Humpty Dumpty all together again, that there are always going to be some gaps. And so not every African American is going to be able to reconstruct all the way back to Africa.
Some of the lineages will be rather ambiguous. They'll be very common. It'll be very hard to sort of localize to a particular region or even ethnic group.
Now, your results are all over the map. We couldn't find an exact match, but all these are close and are all possibilities.
Right.
You can pick from, you can identify with these people from Guinea-Bissau and the Kasanga people, or you could identify with people from Mali. I mean, it could be either one that we don't know. But we know it has to be one of these tribes because this is where our ancestors came from. Okay?
Aha.
At other times, though, these African DNA matches are so specific and unique and make such historical sense that we can at long last glimpse the origins of our own black ancestors. Here are the results. You, on your daddy's side, most probably are descended, an exact match from the Udemi people from northern Cameroon. And that is your exact tribal Y DNA match.
Boy, this is fascinating, man. It's just, it's like I've lived to see the future. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, me too. It's
You know what I
exciting.
mean? Like,
Nobody even dreamed. Alex Haley couldn't imagine.
it's like, wow, I'm alive in the future.
Our historical consultants concluded you are descended from the Luba people.
Fascinating. I'll have to find out as much as I can about them.
Cameroon.
So if I were you, I'd get on the plane and I'd go to Cameroon.
Go to Cameroon. That's definite. And I can't wait to call my parents and tell them.
And this, my friend, is where most probably you are descended on your mother's side.
Niger. I can't translate it into gold or silver, but there is a sense of self in the knowledge where it all might have begun or all did begin.
I never heard the word Fulani mentioned in any family business of mine. They're not Zulus.
They're not Zulus. Zulus would be down here.
Well, you didn't think they made their way up there? That destroys one myth and establishes another one. How extraordinary.
My friend, we know that many slaves were brought to the Chesapeake from the region where you have the most matches with a single group. This suggests that on your mother's side, you are Mende.
I know this is so. There's so many surprises here, but this one is not a surprise. I tell you how I know. I was in Liberia, and they had a litter for me to step into. And they came out with the mask on, the Mende mask. And they came, and there was a woman, and she told me to come out. And I went out, and she did some dance steps. What was to do? So I did some dance steps. And they said I was a Zoe, a Mende Zoe. And they gave me the mask. I could hear the water, the ocean, from where we were. And I couldn't stop weeping. I thought when I left here, I had a garrote around my throat, and my hands were tied, and my feet were tied. And I got into a slave ship, and I slept on the bottom in the filthy hatches. And now I'm being brought back.
We can only begin to imagine the sheer horror of the slave trade. But what if we could place an actual ancestor within that story? We were able to do just that. For one of Tom Joyner's ancestors, his third great-grandfather, Tony Dumas. Can you read where it lists Tony Dumas' birthplace? On the far right.
Place of birth, Africa.
Africa. Your great-great-great-grandfather, Tony Dumas, was born in Africa around 1790. We tracked down a direct male descendant of Tony's, a distant cousin of yours, and we asked him to take a DNA test to see where Tony was born. So we found a match. That's where the brother came from. Would you mind turning the page of the scrapbook? This could mean your great-great-great-grandfather was a member of the Balanta people from the country of Guinea-Bissau.
On the coast.
On the coast. And it's an exact match. Yeah.
How do you think he was captured?
Probably through a war. You know, there were African middlemen, and they would fight wars with other Africans to enslave them to sell to the white man. Slavery was a huge business for different African kingdoms. You know the story that we got when we were kids, that your ancestor was out on one Sunday with his girlfriend and some white man jumps out of the bush and throws a net over? It's not how it happened. Slavery was a big business. Africans sold other Africans to the Europeans.
So after he was snatched from Africa, came over on a slave ship. On that long boat ride.
From hell.
Yes.
Discoveries like this make me even more eager to learn about my own African past.